Hello everyone, this is video number 3 in a series of 6 on how to make a solid estimate. Improve your project estimation skills with our expert tips and tricks. This is the third out of 6 videos, so be sure not to skip it. To be a successful contractor, every job or service must be profitable. However, if the initial offer is flawed, succeeding can be difficult to achieve. The key to a successful business as a contractor is the submission of logical and sound bids in all bids and contests in which you are a participant. In this video, we explore the following subjects: identify and evaluate consumption and contribution materials, estimate indirect labor, other specific costs to consider, calculate overheads, content of video number 4. Identify and evaluate consumption and contribution materials. Identify and evaluate consumption and input materials. Consumption materials are all the auxiliary materials that are used to carry out a work, but that are not incorporated into what is built. Contributing materials are also auxiliary materials, but are incorporated into what is built. Examples of consumables in construction: waste in the wood of the formwork, elements for assembling and fixing the formwork, such as nails, staples, etc. Examples of construction consumables: continued, tools and perishable items, for example, saw blades, cutting discs, gloves, etc. Consumable materials used in electromechanical work: oxidizing gases such as acetylene and oxygen used in oxy-fuel cutting, inert gases such as carbon dioxide, argon used in welding, carbon dioxide and nitrogen used as inert atmospheres for protection or insulation, and so on. Identifying and evaluating consumption and contribution materials, continued. Contributing materials. Input materials include all indirect materials that are incorporated, in whole or in part, into the finished project. Examples of input materials include welding, welding electrodes, welding wires, etc. Concrete, concrete admixtures, reinforcing fibers. Masonry, mortar, grouting. Carpentry, supplies used in carpentry, such as screws, nails, and wood adhesives. Waterproofing, products used in waterproofing, such as sealants and waterproofing membranes. Contributing materials, continuation. Thermal and acoustic insulation, materials for fixing insulators, etc. Electrical work, electrical connectors and terminals, insulation tape, small screws, adhesives, etc. Filler metals for soldering and brazing, etc. Caution: for jobs involving a significant number of inches of welding, or where alloy or special steels are being welded, the cost of filler materials can be significant. Estimate indirect labor. Labor that is not specifically assigned to a particular task or process is called indirect labor. A construction company's total indirect labor budget is the sum of the indirect hours of each job in progress, plus the company's indirect hours in the engineering, budgeting, quality control, purchasing, sales, administration, finance, etc. departments, finance, etc. In this phase, only the indirect labor of the personnel exclusively involved in the tendered project is taken into account. This is illustrated in the table below. This screen displays a chart that illustrates the sources of indirect labor hours. Estimate indirect labor. The workers in the table above perform support, administrative, supervisory, or managerial tasks that are necessary for the overall progress and success of the project. Indirect labor is essential to ensure that the project is developed efficiently, safely, and that it facilitates compliance with established deadlines and budgets. Effective coordination between direct labor, workers who perform physical production tasks, and indirect labor is critical to the overall success of the construction project. Other specific costs to consider. Below are some specific expenses that the appraiser should consider. These include assembly and disassembly of owned or rented facilities, and mobilization and demobilization costs. The above expenses are often project schedule items to which the estimator assigns defined costs. Construction lighting, usually provided by the owner. Construction lighting is a temporary service that provides power to areas under construction or renovation. It is a temporary installation used to power the site while work is being performed until the permanent service is connected. Other specific costs to consider, continued. Emergency power costs. Although the owner is normally responsible for providing the electrical power needed to perform a job, the contractor is responsible for the cost of installing and maintaining its own or leased power generators. Potable and industrial water supply. For human consumption, concrete, washing, irrigation, etc. If the works are carried out in remote areas, the contractor will be responsible for these costs. On the other hand, in nearby works or within operating plants, the client usually absorbs these costs. Other specific costs to consider, continued. The cost of renting and maintaining chemical bathrooms. These are located in areas close to each work site to minimize employee travel. Locating existing buried facilities. Another specific element of the project schedule to which the estimator assigns a defined value is the cost of locating existing buried utilities. Each job is unique, and as a result, the specific costs will vary from one project to another. Therefore, it is necessary to carefully review these costs in accordance with the specifications and accompanying documents. Calculate overhead. Overhead costs are indirect costs that remain constant regardless of the company's level of production. Overhead costs in construction projects refer to ongoing business costs that are not directly related to the execution of a construction or industrial assembly project. Identifying overhead costs is important not only for budgeting purposes, but also for determining what a company has historically spent on these costs. Below is a summary table of the items that make up overhead. This screen displays a chart that illustrates where overhead comes from. Calculate overhead. Benchmark your overhead costs against other contractors and identify areas for improvement. Through this process, it is possible to identify areas where costs may be higher than average and take steps to optimize them. By implementing these strategies and regularly reviewing their overall costs, contractors can optimize their operations, improve profitability, and remain competitive in the industry. Note: a construction company that uses heavy machinery has the opportunity to reduce the amount allocated for general expenses in a budget by reducing the depreciation cost of said machinery, allowing it to present a more economical proposal. Video number 3 finishes here. In the next video, number 4 in this series, we will develop what insurance is needed for industrial construction projects and how to evaluate its cost. If you are interested in these topics, don't forget to subscribe. We hope to have your support for our next video.